Hi,
Hi,
welcome. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for everyone who's joining us um, on time. Thank you. I'm Hannah Sloan, and I've been invited by Photographic Arts Council to host this online talk and studio tour with Cara Romero, who's currently in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And before we begin, I would like to say what Photographic Arts Council is and who Cara is as well. And thank you for joining us. I'm here in Los Angeles. Cara's in Santa Fe. Photographic Arts Council is an organization based in Los Angeles, and it's been operating for over a decade. Hi, Deborah. Um, it creates collaborative programming that engages and educates the community in an evolving conversation about photography and photo-based art. We have public programming in person here in Los Angeles and actually worldwide. They do amazing events with Perry Photo and travel events. They do art talks here in Los Angeles. And thanks to a generous grant from the Herb Ritts Foundation, we've been able to take some programming online this year. And this particular program that we're doing today is funded by Herb Ritts and is part of PAC LA's Year of the Woman. So Cara, thank you for being here. You are our first Instagram Live with Photographic Council. Um, so we're so happy to see you. Hello, everyone who's joining. Someone said, saw your photo at the American Gallery at the Huntington. Great. We are outside of your space, correct? In Santa Fe?
We're outside of my space in Santa Fe, so I'm calling in from downtown Santa Fe. We're in about midtown. The closest intersection is Montezuma and Guadalupe, where I own a downtown studio and gallery that's all connected. This is my first Instagram Live as well, and
Right.
so I'm just honored to be here and honored that I already see some of my friends sending hearts and looking forward to taking you guys on a tour of the gallery and studio.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. When I reached out to you, I had just seen your work not that long ago at the Museum of Photographic Arts in San Diego, which is now part of the San Diego Museum of Art. Your work was introduced to me by their chief curator, Cara Felt, and I was just immediately captivated by it. One thing I didn't know about you is that today we're not only going to see your incredible studio, but we're also going to see your gallery, which is really special that you have both a studio and gallery. So everyone here is really in for a treat. Take us inside, maybe show us a little bit of the surrounding area so we can get a sense of the building and walk us inside.
Sure, so I'm gonna flip that around, and this is about Midtown Santa Fe, across from a coffee shop, and then over here is the Vladam Contemporary Museum of Art. So that's run by the Department of Cultural Affairs here in Santa Fe, and here on this block is the Guadalupe Center and the Cara Romero Photography Gallery, as well as the studio next door called Ogapoge Co. Are connected, and I'm going to take you guys in and start showing you around.
It's such a beautiful exterior already.
Thank
You're,
you.
as people will see, it's quite an expansive space. I always like to bring my LA friends virtually to other spaces and kind of see how large spaces can be outside of LA that you can work in. So this specific space we're walking into is your gallery.
This is my gallery, and I'll start with a little bit of biography about my photographic background and where I'm from. I was born in Los Angeles, in Redondo Beach, in Inglewood, and my family, I was born to interracial parents. They were high school sweethearts at Hawthorne High. My dad, Native American, and my mom, Anglo. And we moved to the Chemehuevi Valley Indian Reservation, which was in the heart of the Mojave Desert in California, and that is where I grew up. And as I got older, my parents split, and my mom's family had moved to Houston, Texas. And so I found myself really for the rest of my life going back and forth between Houston and the Mojave Desert in California until I ran off to art school here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Santa Fe is home to the Institute of American Indian Arts. It is the only formal art training, so Native Americans come from across the country, from Alaska, from California, from the Southwest to study fine art in a formal setting, and that's how I ended up in Santa Fe. I inherited the house that I grew up in the Mojave Desert, so I still go back and forth between Santa Fe and the Chemehuevi Valley Indian Reservation.
And can you tell us how many people were there when you were growing up? How many people are there now? And maybe what was it that exposed you to art while you were growing up that made you want to run away and become an artist?
So I think I was always an artist and came from a community of makers. We're, generations and generations of artisans that used a lot of the ecological materials around us. So more traditional arts for California Native Americans are certainly basket weaving is what we're known for as Chemehuevi people. But I really grew up drawing, and just like other kids, I can remember being really enamored with my grandparents' subscription to Life magazine. So I think I was always in love with the medium of photography all the way back to the 70s and 80s. They let me cut up those magazines. There were about 30 homes there on the reservation in the late 70s. Now we have over 70 homes. There's 1,200 enrolled Chemehuevi tribal members nationwide, and about 300 live there on the reservation. Cousins, sister tribes are 29 Palms Band of Mission Indians. They're in the Coachella Valley area, as well as Chemehuevis from Crit in Parker, Arizona. And so grew up with a lot of the family deep in the heart of the Mojave Desert. And I was studying cultural anthropology at the University of Houston, and really thought I would become a professor of Native studies, maybe write the textbooks that I never had growing up, and stumbled into black and white film in 1997 with a borrowed camera and an instructor named Bill Thomas that really showed me the power of storytelling through black and white film. And I think I understood really early on that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this might just be my vehicle to share lived experience and the beauty of contemporary Native people through self-representation and storytelling. I never knew it would take me so far. And so it really came from a place of love and wonder, and it still does. And I've been able to work in this medium, and it kind of ended up doing exactly that. I get to teach through the artwork subject matter that I don't know if I would otherwise be able to express. So
Thank you for sharing that trajectory. It's clear that you've built something, an incredible practice that in many venues for your work. I want to say hello to Cara Felt, who joined us. Cara, you're the reason why I know about Cara Romero's photography, so welcome. Thank you for being here. Give us a quick tour of this beautiful gallery space that you've established, and tell us when and why you created it.
sure. So I'm going to switch the camera view there. Let me see if I can do it. Try one more time. Great. So this is kind of the front area and the front window. Every year, Santa Fe is home to the largest Native American art market in the world, really. And so we transform the gallery space, which is often exhibition space for my own large format fine art photography, into a group show. Most people are indigenous to both North and South America. And so we have a group show. It was really exciting to put together this year called New Mythos. We had 5 Native American photographers in the show, 2 ceramicists in the show, And so I'll show you guys a little bit of the work that's here in the gallery. This is Robert King's ceramics, as well as my husband, a very well-known ceramicist, Diego Romero from Cochiti, Pueblo. He blends a contemporary illustrative with traditional Puebloan techniques, ancestral Puebloan techniques, and makes beautiful, yes, really special. This work over here is a series called Flying Woman by the matriarch of Native photography. Her name is Shelley Nero. And so when I stepped onto the learning scene back in the late 90s, Shelley Nero, Zig Jackson, Lee Marmon, those were just a few of the folks that came before me that let me know that this was possible for a young Native woman to pursue a non-traditional medium. These great works are a series of self-portraits that are staged in theatrical by Kent Monkman, a very iconoclast Cree artist, indigenous to Canada, and has a huge opening in Montreal right now. He's known for his large Renaissance paintings. These great photographs are a retelling of Kent as mistress, chief, as biblical characters, as biblical women in that retelling. Over here is Jeremy Dennis. He is a Shinnecock photographer, one of my favorite. You can kind of see the through line of these staged theatrical pieces that I've come to love so much as a form of storytelling in contemporary Native America. So this is Jeremy Dennis's work. So this front area of the gallery is always exhibition space, and part of the reason that I fell in love with this space is that it was a large footprint, and here in the back I'm able to also print all of my own work. It has a dual function of gallery space back here, extended gallery space, and then I print and art handle all of my own photography. These are works by Leah Matafrawa, collage and handmade paperworks. And in here is where I print. I have some large format printers and some guests here. This is Bonnie and who Julie. Are you? And Julie. And this is where I'm able to print and art handle all of my work in this big area. So we're working on sending out large format fine art photographs. And I can talk a little bit more about that technical side of things. These are two very recent pieces of mine. And I am going to take you guys over to the studio next door. That is a new addition to the gallery where I actually have project and working space where I'm actually able to create these studio portraits here. And you can see this one is kind of hot off the press. So I'm still working on the post, if you will, the post-production of the piece. So you can see some areas where I still need to burn and dodge and make this come to life. But we've set up the studio. I just shot this about 2 weekends ago, and so we kind of recreated the studio and the lighting diagram for you guys to be able to see a little bit behind the scenes how we did that.
Go back to your work for a second. I want to talk about before we move to the other studio space. Are these both shot in this studio? And
they are.
Okay.
And so a little bit about my formal training. So I started out in black and white film and then ended up at getting a photography technology degree from Oklahoma State University. And that was really at the straddle between film and digital workflow. And it was a time where I could have said, I'm not going to learn digital, which is what a lot of photographers did. But I actually took Photoshop for a couple of years and learned commercial lighting. I learned how to be much faster with my camera. I did learn digital workflow. Before it was appropriate for fine art, it was appropriate for journalism. And so I learned how to do all the different styles of photography, from executive portraits to sports to events. That sort of thing is what we were learning in school, and graduated with a portfolio that was so totally different from my fine art portfolio. And I really feel like, in looking back, all of that training informed really a unique voice. I fell in love with the use of lighting. It was a way that I had never seen Native Americans portrayed before, with this really high produced lighting that you would see in settings more like magazines or high fashion. And I felt like that lighting was so harnessing and such a high craft side of photography. And it also very quickly and psychologically took the viewer into understanding with Native Americans how we're trying to counter that we're just historic or bygone, right? So by the use of color and lighting, people can begin to really understand that, you know, our cultures are thriving and beautiful right here in the American landscape, and still passed down from generation to generation. These beautiful human beings and educational bundles of knowledge from our various communities coming to our younger generations.
Oh, thank you. That description of why you're using the lighting you're using and the effects you're using. Can you take us a little bit closer to this image so we can just see some of the details in his figure? He's so incredible. Thank you.
Absolutely. His name is Robert Gress. I typically work with family and friends. It helps us stay really close to story, if you will. And I think a lot of the photographs that I make, there's a certain amount of trust between the collaborator and the photographer. And so I think that the viewer really gets to enjoy that comfort of my friends and family, often posing for the very first time. So Rob has never taken a photograph like this until I had the gentle nerve to ask him. It was such a joy. So,
thank you. Let's take a walk over to your studio space where you do some of the shooting and create your tableaus. A lot of people will know you for kind of the tableau settings that you create in your work. So I'd love for them to see where that magic happens and some of the tools that you use in your preparation, some of the props that you use as well.
we tried to think of everything. There's 2 entries to the studio, but I'm going to take you guys this way. There's a slim chance that I didn't unlock it, so we may have to go around the other way.
That's okay.
Yes. I'm sorry, this is it through the window. So this is both a gallery space as well as the space, like project space, making space. And I'm just going to take you guys around the other way. And you can see where I do my photo editing and then the back entry, if you will. So.
And something you said that struck me when we came into this space together virtually the other day was that, and we can talk about this while you're walking, is that you like the space to be welcoming to the community and not a foreboding kind of gallery space.
It has been very important to me that students from the Institute of American Indian Arts feel welcome here. There are places to sit, and it's got kind of a more comfy feeling, if you will, art making space feeling. And the community really shows out for these group shows. Every year, we often have hundreds of people in the space, ready to look at new art and see each other for the first time. So that's the door that we would have entered if I had remembered to unlock it. So I'll come over here and then kind of turn around. We're now in my studio space, and you can see this was the grand opening. We were just able to acquire this space and add it on to the larger gallery space. Previous to this, I had been in a separate rented making space, and so this was just a really special way to bring it all together. I think we know as creatives, it's really hard when you have to go to a separate studio. My husband works at home, for example. So now it's much easier for me to be able to transition between spaces and come in here into the making space. So typically this is installed as kind of additional gallery or project space. This year I worked on some cyanotypes and I went back to medium format film. I think I just had somewhat of a calling, if you will, to go analog. I know a lot of us are on digital way too much, sitting at the computer for way too long.
Right.
And so I had this really special idea and project with my community back home, and I made these cyanotypes, and I also hung silk organza in front of them. So I'm not sure how that's rendering, but you can really see this beautiful kind of dreamy effect of the silk organza kind of blowing and changing the image underneath. And these are traditional cyanotypes, if you will, underneath.
Okay.
And they're sun prints. They were shot with medium format film and then digitally scanned in order to make large negatives on transparency. So kind of really a beautiful hybrid between film and where digital technology has brought us. So there's a set of 6 of them, and they were installed here for that group show. So a little bit of a deviation for what I'm known for, but it felt a little bit more like a homecoming, if you will.
And who are the subjects, Cara?
Can you repeat that?
Who are the subjects in these images? The cyanotypes?
That's a great question. They're my nieces and my nephews from the Chemehuevi Valley Indian Reservation. So this is my brother's daughter in the middle, and her cousins to the left and the right, playing in the yard that they would normally play in. So our reservation has 41 miles of waterfront property on the Colorado River, known today as Lake Havasu. So our reservation is on the California side of Lake Havasu.
Okay.
California.
Yeah. So Craig Kroll is asking, can we see the one closer to the door? Yeah, I'd love to see a couple of these closer. They're so incredible.
I'd love to show them to you. So this is a young tribal member named Emma, who really was the inspiration for the work. She's definitely a gifted young artist. Her mom had sent me a photograph of the masks she had started making in community. And we have a lot of stories back home that are called When Animals Were People. And so Emma and I set out to do our first photographic session together, and we really wanted to bring this idea to life. A retelling of the stories from back home, but getting the young kids involved in their own history, their own mythology of the California landscape. So this one is a photograph of Emma in her mask that she made. And yeah, really spectacular young artist as well. And I know so many of us need that encouragement when we're young. I really love this one as well. It's a really small town. I know some of you that know my artwork really, really well, going back to 2018, know that this beautiful truck from the 50s sits in the yard across from my house on the reservation. And so I think what happened is the kids heard I was in town doing this photography, and I drove by, and these two were playing outside in their masks. And so it's almost somewhat of a photojournalist work in the body of work, but these are two young tribal members as well, a brother and sister, um, ready to join in on the fun of the storytelling project. And over here on the right is actually the house that I grew up in on the
Oh, wow.
reservation.
I
Yeah.
love that's an amazing detail. Can we have a couple of questions because this work is so intriguing. Someone wants to know, can you talk about the process of the overlay a little bit?
Yeah, I'm always happy to share that kind of information. A lot of trial and error, a lot of failure with types of paper, as well as this idea for the translucent overlay. In my mind, I just had this idea, and I think sometimes, we're weird artists and trying to figure out, like, how can I make that come to life? So the cyanotypes are on, basically a watercolor paper. They were, I think I explained already, I shot them on medium format film and then scanned the negatives and was able to create gigantic negatives, if you will, on some transparency film. So you can actually put it in your digital printers and you have a transparency. It's almost like a screen printing type of process. And then my friend helped me. I was telling one of my friend artists about the idea, and she said that there was jacquard products, and she found that they're actually creating this silk organza on a paper backing that you can then put into your digital printer.
Oh,
And
wow.
so there is a bit of a lead time on the ordering. I think it's usually 2 or 3 weeks, but you almost order it like fabric by the yard, if you will, and you can, they'll put it on a roll that matches your digital printer. And so this is just like one of thousands of possibilities of printing on fabric. They also create paper-backed linen and all kinds of different fabrics that you can print digitally on, wherever your creativity takes you.
Thank you for
And
I'd
yeah.
love to switch the camera back to yourself for a moment. We have a couple other questions because I think people are really loving these. One question is, okay, this is a gallery, but if you were to sell these, for example, would they be framed or would they be hung in this way? Is that something you've thought about?
So it wasn't the top of my mind when I was making, and I think even with my photography, I often think of that as the last thing. I usually like to make and create and then figure out the logistics afterwards. It's a very timely question because the work sold really, really well, and everybody had the same question, like, what am I going to do with this? So we brought in professional framers from here in Santa Fe, my really good friend Tony Sandoval, and he gave us kind of 3 or 4 options. There's 2 ways to look at it. One is enjoying the installation, right, and living with the artwork. And I don't know if you guys could see earlier when they were kind of breathing and floating.
Yeah,
That was what you can hang them in your house like that, and I'm sure they're going to last your lifetime, being able to enjoy them. Um, People collect for different reasons, certainly. So the archivalness and what we came up with, it was that we would build these gigantic shadow boxes, if you will, and that the piece would be encapsulated in a gigantic shadow box that would still be able to house the clothespins and the clothesline, because that was kind of a gentle detail that was important to me about the community and kind of the dreaminess, if you will, about these particular pieces. And so some people are taking them home and just like running the risk and enjoying them, and then some people are taking them for the museum quality shadow box, and so they'll hang inside the shadow box.
I love the clips myself because it gives me the sense, especially with the ones where you have a really crisp horizon line. It just feels like it's part of the outdoors where you shot it. It's just really a nice touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did we miss any in this group as we were going around before we move on?
There's 6 of them, so 3 on each wall. I'm gonna just switch it around because I'm making myself dizzy. I don't know which way to go. And I can't get a wider angle on these, so I'm gonna try and come down this wall so you can see all 3. There you go. So that's kind of one wall of the gallery, making space, if you will. And then off to the other side, there's 3 more. And so there's 6. And it's a really beautiful feeling to come in here with all of the lights off. We brought all of the studio equipment in here as well, though. So wanted to kind of give you guys a feel for what a studio setup might look like.
Yeah, thank you. So this is where you shoot your tableaus, and some of your tableaus have really big frameworks, it looks like. Can you tell us, is all of that constructed in real space and then photographed, or is any of it added digitally? Kind of what is real and what is post in your work?
Yes, so you know, the cyanotypes, I was really going for just everything in camera and really back to that, you know, human analog space. This piece is called Coyote Girl, and I think it's a good maybe example to kind of talk about what's done in camera and what is done in photo illustration. I try to do everything in camera that I can, whether I'm world building here at the studio or we've gone and scouted a location, feels a little bit more like movie making. So this one, I knew that this spaceship structure was on the south side of town. I went out there a couple of different times to see what the lighting was going to be like. For a shoot like this, I photographed it just, you know, maybe with my phone a couple of times. I knew I wanted to do it right as the sun was going down. And I was going to bring artificial light. It's one of my favorite things to do, is kind of blend existing exposure, if you will, or the sun exposure with really balanced artificial lights. I have these, I don't try and spin you guys too fast, but I have these bronze color lights, so they're battery powered, and that kind of allows me to go out into the landscape with artificial light, and we just tend to hand hold them. Sometimes we will put them on stands like we did for this one. So there were 5 women on set for this piece. We hauled a gas-powered generator about a third of a mile up to this hill. The generator then powered the fog machine, right? So you can see that there's fog in the setting. This spaceship is here. This is my friend Pichon Bread as Coyote Girl, a fabled trickster that shows up throughout North America in our stories and gives us lessons on how to be a good person, you know, how to live vicariously through their mistakes or through their successes. I'm just zooming in here on her helmet because you can kind of see the lighting diagram here. So I'm going to try and point. This is one of the bronze colors with a blue moon globe. And so we've gelled the lights so that it's flashing blue light onto the left side of the subject here. And then on the right side of the diagram, we have a large octa standing in space. And so it's a 2-light set balanced with the sunset that's happening in the background, right? So you see the sun has just gone down over the horizon. And if you back up a little bit more, you can see that there's a bright pink light flashing on the right side that's lighting up that fog, and on the left side it's kind of blending it into purple, and it's a little bit bluer on the left hand side. In post, the stars are added, and then this aurora borealis is added. It looks cool without it, but it becomes like even just a little more otherworldly.
Yeah.
and fun and painterly when you're trying to do a supernatural storytelling event like Coyote Girl landing on Earth. So that's all the photo illustration that's done. We even taped a little sparkler to her fake ray gun. So even the sparkler we lit up and backed up from her, so that I try and do everything in camera that I possibly can. And
It makes a
that's
it's a fun difference, and it's also probably more interesting as a photographer to be out there and seeing like what you can capture, as opposed to add and post. A lot of space imagery comes into your work, I've noticed, and futuristic symbolism. Can you address that a little bit for people who may not know what Indigenous futurism is, or what your particular attraction is to this kind of imagery, and why you use it?
Sure. I'd love to take you guys into the other room that has another great example of Indigenous futurism. I'm going to take you through a little bit behind the scenes of the back of the studio, the messy part of the studio, and then into my office. So this is my editing space right here, and this is Bonnie. She'll help me if we get to set up the studio here in a little while. And I'm just going to turn it around and sit next to Bonnie so that we can talk a little bit about this piece back behind me. So Indigenous futurism is a genre of really Native American art, but in many communities begins to emerge about a decade, maybe 15 years ago, as a way for communities that have just been surviving and really talking about survival since the civil rights movement, and moving into a space of, for the very first time, imagining ourselves through art in the future, right? And so there's a lot to unpack with that sort of conversation. I come from a generation that is just after the American Indian movement of the 60s, where the mantra, we are still here, is the mantra of the American Indian movement. I come from a childhood where we're really just trying to express to, our students that we went to school with, our friends, our teachers, that we're not gone, that our cultures are thriving. And for folks from marginalized communities to begin making art in the future is a profound statement, right? Mm-hmm. That we're now imagining ourselves here and in the future. And as I kind of think back to, images of Star Trek or other types of speculative futurism and sci-fi, there's not representation of Native Americans there, right? And so as we begin to look around us at ideas of representation, where we fit in, where we haven't been represented, this idea of Indigenous futurism became really important for me to want to enter into the conversation. For me, thinking about futurism and thinking about how culture changes, but how things are also ever permanent, for Native American people, both are true, right? So we find ourselves changing through time, adopting different customs, but also deeply protective of what we call the original instructions, or what our ancestors have fought to protect for thousands of years. That's often arts, that's often ecosystem, foodways, spiritual practices. And so in each of these pieces, they're very playful. They are, speculative futurism, they're a little bit campy, they're sci-fi, but they all have a very old element that our communities have worked to protect for thousands of years. And so the hopefulness is that we'll still have the heirloom white corn in the future. I'm going to switch over to this piece in front of me. This is another futurism piece. It's called Devil's Claw #1. And so you have an anthropomorphic devil claw woman. And I'm going to come in a little bit closer. Those of you that are not familiar with Devil's Claw, it is the fiber material that most of the Native Americans from the Southwest and in California use for the dark areas of our traditional baskets, right? So we've worked to protect these techniques. They're made from white willow, and they're also made from this devil's claw material. And so in each of the futurism pieces that I've made, I think there's probably about 8 or 9 in the series. They all have something really old, and the hope is that they'll still be around long into the future.
Oh, that's incredible. Thank you. That was such a beautiful description of Indigenous futurism and actually how it occurs in your work that I hadn't realized fully until now. So I really appreciate that. Where does the name Devil's Claw come from? Do you know?
It's actually the shape of the pod itself. So I don't have a raw one to show you, and this is a bundle of them. But her earrings are a cast from Devil's Claw, and so that's where it gets its name. Sometimes people call it cattle killer. The pods after they dry become black, and they become so sharp that they will actually cut your skin, and it will cut the ankles of cattle herds. And so sometimes they call it cattle killer. We don't call it that. We call it Devil's Claw. But
And
it grows wild.
the belt on the figure is so interesting. Is that a specific design?
So this is it features a California artist and friend's daughter, and this is a California basket design, but it's more specific to Chumash, which is Central Coast. And you can see these geometric designs like we saw in the baskets down here. They're just kind of echoing the use of the Devil's Claw and kind of like an inside nuanced nod to the importance of the material to, you know, really the beginning of arts in California.
Absolutely. I love the references to California and your community in this one. I think there's another image in this space of 3 figures potentially to look at.
I'll take you over here. There we go.
Okay, I remembered correctly. Yes. I've always been attracted to this image. I'm not sure why. Can you tell us the backstory on it?
Sure. This one is called Three Sisters, and it features 3 friends of mine. Three Sisters is a reference to the indigenous science gardens of corn, beans, and squash. Mm-hmm. So always acknowledging the importance of indigenous science in the health of our ecosystems and in the world. It's an undervalued form of science, but I think as Western science continues to catch up, we begin to understand that traditional ecological knowledge and the empirical science of Native America is really what's going to, hold our environments together. The image is fun. It's speculative. So the wires are there. The dry ice is there. They're not painted blue. It's not done in photo illustration. It's done with the gelled lights. So they have blue light flashing on them. And what is done in photo illustration is days and days of painting, if you will, or photo illustrating really old designs from each of their respective communities onto their skin. So they look fully tattooed. It looks very, very realistic on their skin. I've pulled each of the designs from pottery, from bandolier bags, from really, really old vernacular from each one of their tribes. This one is a parfleche design from each of their respective communities, and then lovingly tattooed all over their bodies. And so that was done in post, and it really is also like a way to show people the incredible diversity of our different designs that come from all of our different bioregions. So on the left, this is Leah Kolakowski. She is Ojibwe, and this is a traditional Ojibwe floral design. And this is ancestral Puebloan. It comes from a couple of different pieces of pottery, but I gave her the really fun neck tattoo off of the vessel right there. This is Ka Falwell. She's a Santa Clara tribal member, and these designs are much older. And this is, again, Pichon bread, the same young woman that played Coyote Girl. It has a parfleche design from her Comanche side. So
Incredible designs.
thank you.
A fun image and highly educational at the same time. I love it. Is there other images we should look at in this particular studio before we move on to, I think, like a demonstration of how you shoot?
Those are kind of the main ones. I keep images of my family. So these are all Chemehuevi. There's my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-uncle, and then my mom and dad here in these photographs. And so those are all, I guess, antique Chemehuevi photographs that I've scanned and keep close to me. So.
Is he wearing boxing gloves?
Yes, his name was colloquially Indian Johnny, and he was a welterweight champion of Las Vegas, Nevada. And
interesting. I love that.
And this is my great-grandmother who had her children there in Torrance, California. And she passed very young from tuberculosis. And this is her daughter, my grandmother, that I grew up with. There at the Chemehuevi Valley Indian Reservation. She was a graduate from Sherman Indian School, which is there in Riverside, California. And she raised these three little rascals there in the South Bay of Los Angeles. And that's my dad on the left-hand side. So, who's no longer with us, but.
The special, well, thank you for sharing that with us. On the feed, Diana is asking, you speaking about this, but do you have a connection to your mother's side as well, or is the focus mostly on your paternal side?
So that's a great question. I really walk in the world as an interracial artist and an interracial person, but I would say there is a great commitment in how I walk in the world as being a Chemehuevi woman. And so as a Chemehuevi artist, I think most of the stories that come through about culture and about who I am and my community are mostly intertribal. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. Okay, tell us what we're going to look at here now.
Sure. So this is, again, my making space. And so we're just, I'm going to switch this around and put Bonnie on the spot. We're going to pull down the backdrop over here just so people can kind of see what the space looks like when we're making. We pull down this backdrop just like any other studio. I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you while I'm filming. Okay. We're setting up the lights, the bronze color lights. We typically tether to a computer here. And so then we're also able to pull down the shades and the lights and control the lights in the space too. So there's Bonnie pulling down a backdrop. I shoot long ways in the studio from close to the door, and then use usually a 90 to a 100 lens to shoot and kind of compress the background, if you will.
Right, I think this is so interesting for photographers who are joining us because if you look at Cara's website or her imagery somewhere else, you can see the images are pretty expansive, or they're very complex tableaus. So it's nice to see what kind of space you utilize to make those happen and what distance.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've measured it here before. It's probably about 25 feet from the place that I'm furthest able to photograph from. But I could open the door behind me and even go out a little bit further if I really needed to. Cutting out from a wide angle to, what's showing up in the composition is just the really the length of the lens. So usually like 70 to 90, I'm able to get everything cropped within this background. And so this is a bronze color. We probably have about 12 different modifiers that we're able to put on the bronze colors. I've had them for about 4 or 5 years. They're amazing. They're worth saving up for. The light is incredible. The battery power, they're fun to travel with. You can take them anywhere, and then of course, like not have cords anywhere around your studio, which if you've ever worked with, which I did work with cords for a long time, but it's a lot of fun to be cordless. This has a gobo on the front of it, and I will take you guys back to the photo that we're kind of recreating a little bit here. So this created the moonlight that's behind the model. I don't know if you guys remember that from the image that I showed that I had just shot a couple of weeks ago. So that's how we're creating that perfect illumination behind her head.
Okay.
And then we brought in one light over here. It's got the beauty box on it, and that was her main light for the shoot here. And we set it up high and really kind of using, I would say, like high fashion techniques.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the lighting is so arresting, I think, and really allows you to bring people into another world. While she's setting up the third light, I'll just show you guys, there was the incredible blue corn that's in the photograph that came from community. So
wow.
As I have ideas, a lot of times I'll gather like the different props and things. Your friends and Native people can really come through for you in Santa Fe. It's really a city of artists, and we all really get into each other's weird ideas and help each other find and source things that we need to find. Those are the glasses that she wears. And these are just the little gels that we put over the lights. You can see that we have like lots of different colors. I really love to look at Lindsay Adler's work sometimes. She's using it, you know, certainly for models and high fashion stuff, but that's, she's so fun to watch her lighting wizardry, and then I just use it maybe a little bit weirder, I guess, here in my studio. This is creating that highlight light. I don't know what everybody else calls it. I call it a kicker, and I usually put it behind the model. Sorry, I'm going to come really close to it and kind of turn it where I would have it. It kind of creates that great highlight over the person's shoulder, if you will. And so this is the lighting diagram that we used for the piece for Cricket. I have a wireless transmitter on the camera. So this is going to talk to the lights, and no cords, which is pretty great, except for this cord that tethers to the computer, so we can kind of see what we're doing as we're doing it. And then thank you so much, Bonnie. This is how the raw image looks in camera. So here again, trying to do everything that we possibly can here in camera, and then using photo illustration on the post side of things to kind of make it otherworldly. And I can walk back to that other image if you guys want to look at it in real life in the other room.
Give us one more look at the beautiful setup that you created with the props and the gels, and maybe one more overall view of your lighting setup. I really appreciate you doing this so we can imagine how you've been shooting the work.
So really here is that beautiful blue corn that she's holding in the image, and we've taped it together down at the bottom so that it wasn't going too wild on her. So just the good old gaffer tape from the studio. Some great sunglasses that we got at the local store. It's my daughter in the photograph, so that really helps us like bring imagination and not so many nerves on set. These are the different gels. You can cut them and tape them around the head of the light. you can really go crazy with the colors. They come in just about every color at B&H Photography, and they've been really fun for me with the speculative futurism, just really playing with like that otherworldliness, if you will. If I back up here, this is the lighting diagram.
Right.
So this beauty dish is the main light, probably twice as bright as the others. This gobo light in the background, you can create all kinds of cool effects. Some of them cheesy also, like you can do, like they have different inserts that you can put into this portion and focus and make it look like mini blinds and moons and hearts. I just left it on the circle for this particular one, and so I'll turn on the modeling light and you can see that show up, and that was behind her head in the image, if you will.
Fantastic. Let's take a walk over to the print in progress in your area, and we'll be able to see what Cara is actually shot with this setup. I wanted to welcome Kelly Connell to the feed. Welcome. Kelly's one of my favorite contemporary photographers who I had the opportunity to interview on Zoom earlier this year. If you don't know Kelly's work, look her up. She has an amazing project called Pictures for Caris. And now we're back in your print area.
This is the back of the gallery in the print area. So I'll take you guys in here. I have a little bit more room. I have an older Epson that I still print on sometimes, and some older work here. This one I bought used with a friend in 2006, but it still does things that the Canons can't do. And then I have two Canons that I print on. I'm transitioning from the 4100 to the 4600, but right now I have 3 different printers that all do some things better than others. And then over here, we just printed that master. So the very first part of my process in printing is, we're done with the studio shot. I showed you guys how I did that, and then I take it in to post. I work from Bridge and pull it into Adobe Photoshop. And so I still am trying to do everything that I possibly can in camera. This one has a star file added. And when I added the full high resolution star file, I made sure that this reflection was gonna show up in her glasses. So it's all one file that's shown up across the photograph, but then has been brushed off of her and only left on the background and then her glasses, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that I did was I overlaid this moon onto where that white light was. So we just kind of lined up that moon image and then brushed it away from her face and her hair. And so I usually print the very large master print first, and you can see all of my writing all over it in a gold Sharpie. And I'm just saying, like, this area needs to be lightened. This area needs to be darkened. I'm showing like where I didn't clean up all the stars off of her dress here. And this is like just kind of my notes to post-productions, things that you can't quite see on the computer, but that once you get it really big, you can start to really dial in on making your first master artist proof, if you will.
And for those who are printers and artists, can you talk a little bit about what papers you use for your exhibition prints?
Oh, sure. So this paper, I've been using Epson Legacy Platine for a long time. The reason that I love it, I think, is that it reminds me of darkroom paper. It's got a thick kind of cotton rag, if you will, on the back side of it. And then this, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but kind of a semi-gloss, almost satin finish on the front of it. This particular Epson Legacy Platine is a really, I find bright white. and allows the colors that I'm known for to really come through. Even if you're working on black and white, I just love the Epson Legacy Platine. I think the other reason that I really love this particular paper is that when you're handling prints this big, there's certainly less expensive paper. A lot of the RC papers, they print beautifully, but they ding so easily. And so the almost fabric-y, luxurious nature, the thickness, I think it's 310 GSM. It's much easier to handle, if you will, when you're trying to art handle these large pieces on a table. You have to flip them over, you have to sign them, you have to get them to the museum or the client perfectly. Every once in a while, I have a piece that just calls for something different.
Okay.
So sometimes I do print on matte paper. I still use the Epson fiber mat. And then this particular piece is an older piece that's going to go to the Autry Museum in one of their new areas. This is actually printed on metallic paper.
Ooh.
And I think because of the oops, sorry, my gimbal is wanting to do whatever it wants to do. I think the photograph just lent itself to like the metallic surface on this particular paper. Sometimes I print on matte paper just because it will be a little bit softer. Sorry, my gimbal is going crazy. Bonnie's trying to help me.
Sorry, I'm giving you guys a little ride here.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
This is the age of technology and failure, but so far we've been doing great.
Okay, good. I get it now.
We're about an hour into this conversation, which has been phenomenal so far. I want to give people an opportunity to ask some questions, but I also, while they're doing that and queuing up some questions, I want to talk about what you're working on now, what shows people can see coming up, and potentially mention your book that's people can pre-order, so that everyone knows where they can visit your work in person outside of Santa Fe.
Sure. So I have a really exciting show. It's a two-person show with my husband, Diego Romero. It's about 20 of my large format photographs and about 20 of his potteries that are coming to the Albuquerque Museum. And that opens on November 1st down in Albuquerque. I have a solo show, my first major survey of about 14 years of work that opened up at the Hood Museum up in Hanover, New Hampshire on the campus of Dartmouth. That show just came down to travel to the Phoenix Art Museum. So we're really excited. You can probably go online already. It will open up right around February 26th or that weekend at the Phoenix Art Museum. And there's about 65 large format photographs. It's been a life-changing experience to have a solo show. I never knew it would take me so far. But they're all Indigenous centric. They're all intertribal, interracial, collective history stories with friends and with family, just really authentic to who I am and how I've, walked in this world as a Native woman photographer. It's been a really special experience, and it started out really hard. I never knew people would like the work eventually, so it's been really special. I have a book that goes along with the exhibition that was co-published by the Hood Museum as well as Radius Books. They're an incredible nonprofit art book organization that is located right here in Santa Fe, and the Hood Museum asked if there was anybody that I wanted to work with on the book, who would it be? It was Radius Books. We're going to do a book signing at Paris Photo. The books just arrived from Italy in the port of New York a couple days ago. So those are available online at Radius Books. And if you guys find yourself at Paris Photo, this will be my first time coming, and we're going to do a book signing and a small image release.
That's so, many of our PAC members, Photographic Arts Council members here in Los Angeles, go to Perry Photo every year. So I'm sure you'll get a lot of them showing up at your book signing. I'll be sure to send them there. We have, that's so exciting. We have a couple more questions. One of my favorite questions, if people want to acquire your work, do they contact you directly?
So I have 2 gallery staff that help me fulfill collectors and museum acquisitions. You can go to cararomero.com and we can work through email. We can send you a catalog, or you can order right off of the e-commerce site.
Great. And one of our friends from PAC just chimed in and said 40 PAC members are going this year to Perry Photo. Sounds like you'll have an entourage to sign books for. Craig is asking, are there special natural or historic places that one can visit near the Chemehuevi Havasu reservation area that you would recommend?
So, you know, the Mojave National Preserve is there, and Chemehuevi Ancestral Territory ranges all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, all the way out to Barstow, Victorville, and all the way south to Parker, Arizona. We have shared ancestral territory with the Cahuillas and with the Serranos, and so a lot of those really special places are special to all of us. I think for Chemehuevi, there's certainly petroglyphs that you can come visit. Old Woman Mountains is about 20 minutes on an off-road path. But if you came all the way to the river's edge in Lake Havasu, you'll feel that it's an incredibly special place that people have been for a really long time. It's quite incredible. The whole southern end of the reservation is off-road space. And then, of course, you can boat up and down on the river. There's a lot of our ancestral territory is underneath the lake, which is sad. But there are still by boat a lot of petroglyphs, and just north of the reservation adjacent is the Havasu National Wildlife Preserve. And so you can take your boat upriver and you're likely to see everything from sidewinders on the rocks to mountain sheep to all kinds of wild birds, blue heron, right there in the wildlife preserve as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for asking that question. I can't wait to visit some of those places. I think we're going to wrap up soon unless other people have additional questions. Cara, I hope you come to Los Angeles, and PAC would love to welcome you and spend a day with you. We have a new office in downtown Los Angeles at a place called The Reef. You're more than welcome and to come visit. Do you, when you're coming to back to the reservation, to your home, you could stop in LA and say hello.
That sounds wonderful. I also have a son at University of Redlands, a little bit closer to LA than the reservation, so I find myself back in the Inland Empire a little bit more often than I ever have in my life, and I have an uncle that lives there in Redondo, so I will take you up on that when I make it out.
Okay, great. And for those who don't know what PAC is, and you've joined us after the beginning, Photographic Arts Council Los Angeles is hosting this event with the generous support of the Herb Ritts Foundation. Cara Romero has generously given her time as our very first Instagram Live interviewee, I guess, or guest, excuse me. And you can find more information on what the incredible programming that PAC provides at paclosangeles.com. And it looks like we're having lots of thank yous, and you're being invited to the breakfast, PAC breakfast in Paris. So hopefully this is just the beginning of a great relationship between you and PAC LA. And Cara, thank you again for preparing your studio for us. for thoughtfully articulating ideas around the importance of the representation of Indigenous communities, how your images come together, what Indigenous futurism is, showing us your new cyanotypes. I mean, everything was so incredible today. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for inviting me to do this. I've never done this either, so it was fun.
Okay, thank you, and have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.